Alright, we've got one package, technically two packages, but the other one got opened to watch with Friday Friends. So let's get this one open. Oh, yeah, okay. I was just making sure this wasn't hentai. And I think we already determined that this wasn't, but it is very risque. Yeah, see it says 16 or older. This looks like a Media Blasters. Yeah, it's a Media Blasters release. Let's get the other pile of stuff in here. Actually take a look at this, because Media Blasters is notable because they tend to go a little cheaper, especially on their DVD releases. So there's a possibility this one is a let me open it to the side to make sure. Yeah, pretty empty on the inside, but it is still a pressed disc and not a burnt disc, so that's good to know. Next up, we have probably the most important. There might be other neat things in there, I don't know. But we have Attack on Titan Final Season Part 1. And this is actually a pretty interesting release. So, to begin with, I mean, I think we've had other releases which have a book in the middle like that before. The interesting thing is you see one disc here. Well, it's common for there to be two discs, but I don't remember ever seeing a thing here where we have 3 Blu-ray discs on one side, and then 3 DVD discs on the other. There we go. That's actually pretty cool. Some neat mechanical stuff. That one I'm, of course, holding on to. That's the digital code, whatever. And this box contains 5 art cards and 3 enamel pins. This is the back of it. As you can see, this is Region A only, English dubbed. Actually, this probably mentions the number of episodes. I'll be honest, I can't read it. It's a little blurry to me. It's a bad thing. But then again, if I could have gone to sleep early tonight, I probably would have, and that's unfortunately caused me to just put off doing this later than I should have. If y'all are familiar with that, okay, just making sure there's nothing else in here. Oh, interesting. So you can see that there's some silver in the back of some of these. I'm actually going to open this up. Sometimes I don't bother. Okay, I'm not bothering. That's being annoying. I'm too sleepy for this. And oh, yeah, we've got some Titan pins. I don't remember this in the other set, so if they're there, then I kind of have an incomplete collection, don't I? Next up, we have Talentless Nana. Not to be confused with Nana. The Talentless is important because there's another set called, or another series called Nana that's clearly not this. That one, if I remember correctly, is a josei, which is targeted more adult women, and I do believe the characters in that are adult women, and these look like younger characters. I mean, it's hard to tell. The art style could just be one where they're, you know, regions A and B. That's an English dub. 12 episodes. She's not as talented as you think. See, that sounds like a very interesting thing. You have a character that's known as talentless, but they're not. It almost reminds me of irresponsible Captain Tyler. I mean, he was kind of irresponsible, but more like stupid. Jesus, come on! I hate it when the plastic does this. See, some of it just like stick there. Yeah, that beep was just Windows Defender summary deciding to say a whole bunch of nothing. Sometimes those are really annoying because it's like, why'd you bother informing me stuff? Sticky keys is kind of like the #1 most annoying Windows thing. I don't know who in their right mind decided to turn on something. But anyways, Galactic Gale. Yeah, Galactic Gale Baxingar. Huh, that's kind of an image to take in. See that plastic on that other set is deciding to be annoying. Okay, now what was I doing? I was doing that, and I just need to get this to start. The interesting thing here is it different underneath the slipcover? Yes, it is. It's pretty cool. It's always cool when that happens. Second part of the J9 trilogy featuring a futuristic take on the Shinsengumi. Interesting. Down here we see audio is just Japanese. Dual mono. Oh, and the thing, this is all 39 episodes in standard definition. So the art on the inside is a little hard to see, but I think that's the general idea. This makes me think it's mecha. Galactic, of course, sounds like it's a space mecha. I don't know. These stuff. We have Machine Robo. 51 episodes in standard definition. There's definitely some text there, but that contrast I cannot read. Not down there, stupid plastic. Yay, different on the insert. I was just thinking, you know, I don't remember that character being a girl, but that's because I processed there was a guy and a girl here, and the guy is slightly more in front. These are all the female characters. Definitely pretty neat. Anything to note down here? Probably Japanese with English subtitles. Yeah. Disc 1 with 47 episodes. Disc 2 with, well, I can't tell. It's listing some stuff there, but the text is a little small for me to read. There's the reversible insert. But I'm guessing it was listing the 4 episodes that are not in the 1 through 47 that are on the first disc. Alright. And then last but not least, we have Miss Vampire Who Lives in My Neighborhood. Which looks cute and interesting. Don't know how engaging it actually is. Nothing about this immediately strikes me as, oh, I saw this before. So we've got Japanese with English subtitles, modern day vampire comedy, which always sounds good. Probably 12 episodes on one disc. If there's anything I see about this that worries me, it's that it's billed as a comedy, but it is cute girls doing cute things, which can be very hit or miss in that regard. My guess is this person's probably the vampire. It's pretty common for them to be given albinoism traits, which, if you're not familiar with, albinoism is a lack of pigmentation. And in humans, it pretty much tends to mean the skin gets paler, the hair is silver. You know, when we grow older, I say silver, graying could be fine, but when we grow older, the cells that make our hair stop gaining the ability to pigment them, and that's why our hair turns gray as we get older. And the eyes being red they're not exactly red. I think they're usually more of a vibrant pinkish red, but you know, I've always considered this kind of look to kind of represent albinoism, a lack of pigmentation in the hair, eyes, and thing. And of course, they look really cute as anime characters, but don't we all look cute as anime characters? Anyways, here's this week's anime DVD collection update. Okay, let's start with the most important thing, which is Attack on Titan. So, like I said,
the package that this arrived in was a high priority open because I watched it with my Friday. Watch it with my Friday friend. I know Attack on Titan has been available, I think, simulcasted, which means it's also dubbed pretty quickly as well on other places other than just like Funimation.com. I do believe Crunchyroll has been advertising, and I haven't checked to make sure it is dubbed, but it's still the case that watching it with him and watching stuff towards the end has been, you know, a good thing for us to do. Now, this one was exhausting because there was 15 or 16 episodes. I can probably tell if I took a look and see where it starts. It starts on episode 60 and ends on 75. So that's 16 episodes. Yeah, assuming I'm doing my math correctly. And content-wise, it's pretty good. Although it's kind of interesting watching this and thinking, if this is how the show started, it probably wouldn't have as good of a following as it is. It has this vibe of being a little exposition-y, but it's not like bad exposition-y per se. It's definitely the sort of thing where everything you've watched up to this point, you know, it's got to be going somewhere. And based on where the manga was going, this has gone past where I've read in the manga because I just kind of stopped at one point. The anime is still following the manga pretty closely. There might be little things different here and there, I think. Some of them I could think of and talk about. But I don't know how different they actually are in this season. I just know that this season starts with the way it looked like the manga was going. The same sort of choice of when to reveal certain information and ideas and explore stuff, etc. And so I don't have any reason to believe that the anime is doing anything outside the ordinary of the manga, but there is a definite tonal shift where for the first 3 seasons of Attack on Titan, you're pretty much focused on our main characters as events unfold for the majority of the thing. And this one isn't that. This happens after a time skip, after things have developed more, and it does a lot of... It feels like it does a lot of back and forth stuff. There's a lot of more backstory that it wants to fill in for us. And again, it's not bad. It feels a little exposition-y, but not bad exposition-y, but it means that, you know, that gripping narrative that the first handful of seasons had isn't there. And at this point, we're watching final season because we want to know where the anime is going with this. We want to see what happens to these characters. And it feels like it's giving those to us. But we're no longer planted in, okay, the characters have this goal of making it through the end of this fucking day, holy shit. That sort of thing. So, like, you know, that's the kind of thing that draws you into Attack on Titan. And that lasts as the storytelling narrative for the first 3 seasons. Here's where it's, you know, changed. And overall, it's good. I definitely want to see more. And maybe it changes after the part here, because it did feel like it was kind of getting ready to set stuff up, and things are kind of set up. But at this point, I think because our main characters are no longer passive actors, I guess to say, I guess there gets to be more developments that are happening all around, all over the place, that's leading to something. And I'm definitely curious to see where it is, but, you know, I gotta wait for part 2. Next but not least, I watched By the Grace of the Gods. And it's interesting, because I also tried to watch Isekai Cheat Magician, and it feels like, you know, I would definitely rate this better than that, and I think this is rated better than that at most sites, but I can definitely see why this one isn't rated super strongly. And obviously I'm going to talk pretty negatively about Isekai Cheat Magician. I'll try to give its positives too, but let's talk about By the Grace of the Gods. So, this show has a huge problem of it just shies way too much away from conflict. So, I think shows can probably work without that, But the main problem is where this kind of leans is towards the, here's our main character being kind of neat and awesome with the stuff he does. And that can work. You know, there's a lot of series that pull that stuff off. I mean, like, even Reincarnated as a Slime, that one obviously doesn't shy from its conflict. But it feels like it resolves a lot of its conflicts so easily that the conflict isn't usually the main reason you're watching it. There's exceptions to that show. And that's one of the nice things about it, is it really does, you know, mix it up a bit. But that one, when it comes to, okay, our main character is kind of introducing these awesome ideas, being awesome, here's awesomeness, and the way people react, a lot of that stuff is really great. And this show seems to be kind of set up along a similar line. And I know it's really weird to compare that show to this, because while they both involve slimes, this one is really about our main character just being interested in slimes. And it does interesting things with them, but I think a lot of the awe that he causes around people, the execution is really lackluster. It feels very, everybody's just taking a chance to pat the main character on the head, essentially. So it doesn't have as much of an oomph to it as a lot of other shows. Now, that said, you know, it's also kind of got a bit of a lack of direction, and I'd say for me, it felt like it barely held up under that, but it, you know, that means it did hold up. I found it to be pretty watchable and, you know, kind of entertaining, just maybe not as engaging, I guess, is probably what all that stuff summed together pretty much means. So overall, it was okay. But if we're going to talk about lack of engaging, we're going to talk about Isekai Cheat Magician. And that one was rated pretty low, and so I was kind of expecting it, but especially after I watched something last week that was pretty low. And I'll be honest, I just kind of started getting tired of it, of Isekai Cheat Magician, that is. So I watched 3.5 episodes. So I gave it the 3 episodes. I think it kind of has the right sort of setup and some of the right sort of, maybe not interactions, but I think its presentation makes it feel like, okay, I'm not quite sure why this is rated so low, but I know I'm going to find out. So, really what it comes down to, at least in the beginning it seems okay, but then it just seems sort of too convenient with this and this and this. Our main characters do not feel like they are, it feels like they're just being pulled around by the story and not by, you know, trying to be autonomous, even though it's set up as if they're supposed to be super awesome. And it's the opposite of a whole lot of really successful isekai, where it's like, okay, this character is awesome, and they throw some other twist in it, like, hey, he's a slime, but he's awesome, and he has a lot of autonomy, even if, you know, he's just kind of going forward with whatever's going in front of him. He doesn't have an ultimate destination. It still feels like, okay, the choices on what he's doing to go forward make sense. Isekai Cheat Magician feels like it's more polished, but it falls for a lot of the same tropes that make a lot of isekai not so great. Like, I mean, our main character, well, you know, I say main character. Really, I think the 2 characters are kind of main characters. They set them up so that they're supposed to be awesome in different ways. And there's this battle that was happening, and what they decided to do was to have her fire a big fireball at the enemy, and the enemy girl's like, aha, she's firing a giant fireball on me at the very beginning of the match. How brilliant. And I'm like, she didn't sound like she was being sarcastic, and that could be a dub problem, but it didn't play it off like she was being sarcastic either, and it was weak, because it's just like, aha, you figured out my one weakness, being murdered to death. Except that would actually be funny. I don't think this was being funny. I think this was trying to go through some of the flows of, oh, this is what needs to happen, oh, this is what needs to happen, but it didn't understand why some of them need to happen and what needs to happen when they do. And I don't know what causes that sort of thing. That's interesting. Their training was very kind of meh. You know, they were discovered as being ridiculously overpowered. And then people are just like, oh, well, we know how to handle overpowered people. Yeah, you need to go get evaluated by this person. That person says, I see, so you're powerful by this and powerful by this. Well, y'all are going to train for me because that's just what y'all are supposed to do. It feels a little too like things are just lined up in the shows, maybe on rails, so it just doesn't feel engaging. And I don't know where it's trying to... I know it's kind of got some mysterious stuff going on, but it's hard to tell how much of that stuff is definitely driving, oh, I want to continue watching this, so, I only gave that one 3.5 episodes. ReZero Season 2, I think I had started watching it. I'd probably seen most of it as of last week, and so I finished it, and it was pretty good. There was a couple parts that I were like... It felt like it kind of spun in place a little bit in a couple of places, but for the most part, it progressed as it felt it needed to. It felt pretty good and satisfying. There is still a problem where ReZero creates characters who are really assholes. Like, they're bad at heart, but, somehow everything worked out so that everybody's friends, even though some of these characters really are much worse than it wants to pretend they are after everybody's made friends at the end. So, surprisingly, despite that, its execution and its content and its animation, everything about ReZero continues to be good, and the only real complaint about Season 2 overall isn't really oh, you should have done this differently, but more like Season 1 had more definitive chunks so that the payout kind of, was balanced more throughout the season. In this one, it's hard to feel like the payoff is as there. But it is still there, still pretty strong by ReZero standards especially. So, overall pretty good. Definitely interested in seeing a third season, which I think everybody is, but this one aired pretty recently, so that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. Alright, and then for the stuff that I've just been keeping up on, well, obviously I've been catching up on Princess Connect, but in this case I've been pretty exhausted this past week, so I've only watched one additional episode. Yeah, and, it continues to pretty much be the kind of show as I described. It's entertaining from episode to episode. I just don't feel like I've got this feeling for a big overarching story that pulls me in. And I kind of suspect Season 2 is probably going to be similar, and I forget that that's part of what I'm building up to, but, that's that. Life with an Ordinary Guy Who Reincarnated as a Fantasy Knockout, Episode 7. I think this show continues to be funny. I really don't know what to say. A part of me does wonder if, watching one episode every week, if it being spaced out like that is good. I think I probably said this last week, but, overall, it's supposed to be a funny show. It's not supposed to be taken too seriously. It does have its own internal rules, but those internal rules are, supposed to be funny, and it's successful. In the land of Leedale, like I said, so 2 episodes ago they introduced a concept that they didn't really lean on, but is something that's like, oh, well, no, that's something that our main character should be a bit more interested in. And the previous episode definitely leaned more into that, and this episode leaned even more into it, and so it's all been pretty good. I do have the main concern about whether or not the show is actually as engaging to everybody else. I think one of the things about it is, again, different characters keep meeting our main character, and it keeps being entertaining, slightly different, whimsical in a fun way, I guess. So I continue to enjoy it. My Dress Up Darling Episode 8, pretty good. If there's any problem I'm noticing, it's that here we are at Episode 8. I don't know how long of a series this is supposed to be, but it feels like it's supposed to be longer than what the progress of this episode would make me think would make for a 13 episode. So if it's only supposed to be like 13 episodes, probably not. It's probably split up into multiple cores, or maybe the entire first season is going to air, and that's going to be like 24 episodes. It's really hard to tell how well this will keep up its entertaining, but we're needing to see more of our main character. So I did see the thumbnail of a YouTube video that I didn't watch, which looked like it was kind of a critical analysis of the show, and it was pointing out that the main girl is maybe too perfect, which I can agree. And some shows I actually feel like, oh my god, that character's too perfect. I think Rising of the Shield Hero is a really good example. And I guess the difference for me is those characters, the main character in Rising of a Shield Hero is put in such a dark place that those girls that they introduce are too perfect for what he needs. It feels a little pandery. And this show probably could feel pandery to some people as well. And I think the reason I'm not feeling it is because I think it does a good enough job of making the main character interesting. So the fact that he found the perfect girl, the only problem there is when it's just the two of them, you know, it kind of lacks that dynamic that makes him interesting as a character. And like I said, the show has branched out and been introducing other interesting things, and so far, you know, I'm continuing to like it and be pleased by it. But that said, it does feel like it's been dragging a little bit, and I do want to see him start making costumes, because I want to see our main character do that which makes him awesome. You know, I'm a main character fan, I guess. So, you know, weird thoughts. Not bad weird, just weird thoughts. So outside of that, I don't know. I don't know that I have much I can... Let's see, I had my nephew's birthday party that I went to. But I don't think there's anything there that y'all would be interested in. Video game wise, I think I fired up my Animal Crossing villages to clean them up and make sure the dream addresses were copied down. Just so that some other friends could look at them and come up with ideas and stuff like that for their own islands. But mostly, it's just been playing Dead by Daylight here and there. You know, it's tiring. And that... I don't know if it being tiring is the reason I'm tired, or I'm tired and so I just don't play that one as much. So only like 3 rounds today, but it's all whatever. It's all stuff. I think that pretty much wraps up all of this week's video, yes. So y'all have a nice week.